This is Umar for BoxNation. Well, look, I thought we were going to start about talking the fight on Saturday, which of course we'll delve into. But yeah, you've just had a an explosive phone call with talkSPORT, but you didn't really get much to say. There was all, Simon and Jim were shouting over each other, and you were shouting over them. What was going on there, Frank?
Well, they just asked about, obviously it was going to talk about the fight, and I just wanted to make the point that, it takes two to make a great fight. As I said, when he beat Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder was magnificent in those fights, and they were tough. It was a tough, grueling, well, two of them were tough, grueling fights. And the only point I make is that, all these, you look at some of the newspapers, and there's guys who Tyson's had said things to, or had a few run-ins with, and they've all got the knife out, and it's appalling. Is he a great heavyweight? Talking about heavyweights, is he a great heavyweight? He shouldn't be up there now. He's lost a fight. Lennox Lewis lost to Ruckman and lost to Oliver McCall. And he had two very, very close fights with a great fighter, like Usyk, a great fighter, with Holyfield. And there were fag paper, in my opinion, there was fag paper in who won those fights. But he's a great fighter, Lennox Lewis. Muhammad Ali got beaten by a guy who's Olympic champion, by the way, but he only had 8 or 9 fights in Leon Spinks. And I'm not going to go through a list of things. Fighter gets beat. He got beat in a great fight. And it was a fight of two halves for me. I thought he was well in front in the first, up until the 7th round. And at the end of the 7th round, he hurt him a couple of times, and he slumped back into his seat, but got second wind, came out, and he won every round from the 8th up to the 12th round. Sorry, up to the 12th round. And one of those was a 10-8 round, the 9th round. And I thought Tyson won the 12th round. Usyk won the first round, but whatever way you want to look at it, it was a close fight, a very close fight, and everybody's got their opinions, and most people feel that Usyk win because he had more emphatic night than over the 9th round. I get that, but it was a very, very, very close fight. I thought Tyson just did enough, but could not get a complaint. Whoever won it. And that's it. The judge who gave it. One judge had it going into the 7th round as even. Now, again, I don't see that, because even Tyson's, haters have said, most of them have said that he was in front of that stage, but it's irrelevant. It was a great fight. It was a fantastic advert for our boxing. It was the greatest heavyweight fight of this century, and now we have a unified champion who's a really good quality top bloke who's going to be up there with all the champions, and he's done it in 2 weight divisions, unified 2 weight divisions. So hats off to him, and it's a brilliant thing. A couple of things I want to clear up. I was told when I went to congratulate him in the dressing room that by his team that he was going to have his an X-ray on his jaw because they thought it might be broken. So I just passed that on to Tyson and to the press when I was asked if he was coming. In fact, what I've been told since, or I was told the next day by his manager, that in fact he's got a implant tooth, and it impacted into his jaw, obviously from one of the blows, one of the punches that Tyson threw. So no one was suggesting for 1 minute he had a broken jaw. That's what we were told by his team. And I was standing there when the doctors advised him to go to the hospital when they were examining him. But, it was a privilege to be involved in this promotion. It was just a fantastic show, great show all the way through. We had some great wins with our fighters on the night. Anthony Catchy boxed tremendously well against a very good fighter in Joe Cordina. He was an underdog, and he came through with flying colours. So Britain, Northern Ireland got a new champion, and a very worthy champion. I thought Mark Chamberlain boxed for 1 round out of his skin. I mean, he done extremely well. That was not the result I was expecting. I thought he'd beat him, but not in 1 round, that's for sure, or 2 or 3 rounds for that matter. It's a good opponent. And but those shots, I think if he caught most people, then they'd been in trouble. So brilliant for him, and he's going, it's upwards and onwards for him. Moses, a really, really good win by him. Fantastic win. It was a brilliant, brilliant card. I mean, it was a fantastic card, and we had a good win in America with Berenchek.
Yeah,
with us, and he won the title over there. So just a shame what happened that we didn't get the one with Tyson, because that would have been an unbelievable night for us, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Just before we talk about the real stuff and the fight and go into it more, on that call with Simon and Jim, what was the particular issue? The feeling I was getting from them, the point they were trying to make is when you guys are being complimented, you lap it up. But this is what Simon was saying. But when you get criticised, you put a blocker on it straight away. You don't want to know about it. What was the issue from your side and from their side?
My issue is really simple. That's untrue, because I answer all criticism. I haven't got a problem with that. Sometimes I get aggravated about it, but who doesn't? Criticism's there. It's part of the game. I mean, he's complaining that Eddie and I are now best mates, according to him. And like I said to him, 1 minute you're saying fights are not being made. We're working together. Now you don't like it. What's that all about? And I'll get that. One Eddie's slagging me off and I'm slagging him off. Well, that did happen. A lot of that was down to you guys. But anyway, with the clickbait. But I haven't got a problem with it. We're all over 21. I've been in this business longer than most of the people we're talking about. And I certainly know my boxing. I'm not some schmuck who doesn't understand boxing or appreciate people who beat fighters that I'm involved with. I do, and I admire fighters. And as I say, that was a magnificent fight. What I was pissed off with is certainly in the Mail. There's three writers in the Mail who don't like Tyson. They've made it very clear. They've accused him of certain things. And what I was pointing out was when the headlines in there calls him a thug, especially Johnny Nelson as well, who writes for it. They've got Johnny Nelson and another couple of writers, and Ollie Holt, who I've got quite a lot of respect for, but Tyson obviously had a fallout with him and said something to him. I think he said, he was annoyed with something he'd written, and or his brother was good. It's one of them stupid things that was said. And what I explained to him is Tyson is diagnosed with bipolar. And I don't feel comfortable talking about this, but I think as Tyson's been so vociferous about mental health and so forth, that it should be said. And he has said things, and some of those things are not, I can understand how some people may take offence to it, be offended by it. But if you go on the NHS website and you look at bipolar, which used to be called manic depression, you go on there and you look at what the symptoms are and what's said. One of them is saying things that may be risky or people will be offended by, because I suppose in some ways your filter is not there. It's like you and I having an argument, and where I might want to say you're a right prick, I don't say it because that's not the way we are. We wouldn't you wouldn't do that. I thought what's happened here. Sorry, I got you back. You wouldn't do that. And that's one of the things. So he'll say things like, he feels he gets up in the morning, I'm going to retire. Well, God bless you, retire. And a little while later, he did, like he said, I don't like to get out of the bins, I want to come back and have a fight. That's his choice. All these things are his choice, not for anybody else to decide. And what they don't say in most of these interviews, or these pieces where they've been slagging him off, saying that he isn't, that's him, without referencing that the fact he does have bipolar, and the fact is sometimes he makes something that he regrets. And I've got to be honest, we've done an interview recently, a recorded interview, and he came back to me and he said, I've been thinking about it. I don't want it in there because I know they'll try and take me to task over it. And I said, whatever. I said, I thought it was okay, but that's his choice. He's paid his dues in the ring. He's not given he couldn't have left any more than he did in that ring on Saturday. He couldn't have done it any more than he did in his fights against Deontay Wilder, 2 really tough fights. You know, he's a true warrior, as is Usyk, who couldn't have done more than he did. Those guys have left a lot in that ring, or sorry, didn't leave a lot left. You know, they came out there, they give everything they got. They were 2 unbelievable gladiators, 2 warriors in an epic fight. And to suddenly, like this, some of them, you know, not directed at specifically at Simon Jordan, for example, but for some of them to turn around and then say that they, you know, that this guy's not one of the, you know, he's not been a great, you know, not one of the great heavyweights. It's just, that was the judges, whatever. That fight, there was not a lot in that fight. It was a fight of 2 halves. That's what it was. And anybody who's a judge of boxing and knows about boxing, I'm sure would agree with that. And I'm not going to complain that Usyk won the fight by, what was it, a round or whatever. And one judge gave it 3 rounds, although that judge, the first 6 rounds, scored it a draw. And I don't get that, because even Tyson's biggest detractors would say that's not the case. But I thought that from the 7th round to the 11th round, including the 10-8 round, Usyk won those rounds and Tyson won the last round, how I watched it. So there's nothing in the fight. There's nothing in it. And that's the situation. But when he gets, you know, some of these things that are being said about him and whatever, you know, calling him a thug and so forth, he might say things, and they may be because of you, as I say, you go and look at what the symptoms are and what happens when you've got bipolar. So give him cut a bit of slack for that. The man's been a great boxer. He's been a great fighter. All this crap about people don't like him. He's got 7 million Instagram subscribers. He's got, you know, our boy with the sold out of Wembley, the 400,000 people in the queue looking to buy tickets. The top thing, 3 books, #1, the Netflix series, the best watched series in the UK and so forth. People don't watch or buy books or go to fights because they hate him. They love him. You've seen the reception he gets everywhere he goes. So they read the room wrong. And a couple of these journalists, because they've had run-ins with him, they brought the daggers out now. And I don't like that, and I don't like that. None of them, not one of them, actually say this man is bipolar. He's diagnosed bipolar, and so forth. You know, bipolar, manic depression, suicidal thoughts. You know, he's been through all that. And I know about this. And the reason I know about it is because my younger brother, Mark, committed suicide. He was really struggling with it, and he committed suicide in a dreadful way. So that's why I'm sort of passionate about it. And of course, you know, we get them on there, well, yeah, you earn money out of it. I earn money anyway out of boxing. I'm in the professional boxing. That's what I do for a living. And I've done it for many, many, many years, over the years. But Tyson, as far as I'm concerned, he has been one of our best fighters out of all of them. And that fight was so close. And now everybody quite rightly is saying that Usyk is the best. They're saying, in their view, he's the best. That's what we want to say. And I get that, and I understand that. And they're going to be a rematch. And that rematch will be in October. Tyson confirmed that yesterday. I told him to really think about it before he did it, but he wants it, and he wants it badly. And that's where we are. And even in the ring, like I said to him on the thing, in that ring, you know, they zero in on something he said. You know, just come out of this brutal war, tough fight. You know, boxers, unlike other sportsmen, like footballers, go back to the dressing room, compose themselves, and you know, tennis players, they all go and do that. Boxing, you just had an absolute battle. You bared your soul. You everything on the line, and then you got a microphone shoved up your nose, and you say things, and you might say something that people don't like, but that in some ways can, and not that I think he said anything, he didn't say anything terrible, but what I look at is his actions, because actions speak louder than words. Tyson's actions in the ring speak louder than words for what he's done in his career, and Tyson's actions in that ring after the fight and Usyk was how much respect they gave each other, arms around each other. And I think Tyson must have kissed him on the head about 3 times, because that's what it is. And that for me, it just Yes, they're always looking to sort of tarnish it with something. And I agree. You know, some of the stuff that happened in the week, you know, the headbutting around that we don't want that happening. It did happen, but that's not Tyson. You know, and please, you know, and I mean this, you know, he should be given the respect for what he is as a boxer, as a fighter, as a warrior, because it takes two to make a historic fight. As I said, when Tyson fought Deontay Wilder made that a good fight with Tyson, that third fight.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when Joshua fought Usyk in his rematch, and obviously he had his moment where he, you know, threw the belts away, etc. But you know, you're right; these guys have just come out of a grueling 12-round fight, and as you said, they've got loads of cameras shoved in their face, and they're emotional at that point. But it seems like, you know, the same happened with Joshua, same happened with Fury the other night.
Yeah.
That when our own guys, our Brits, you know, have a bit of a moment or anything happens, our own press and own media jump on them straight away.
It's not. All, I don't want to just put a blanket over that. It's certain sections, and most of them are not boxing correspondents. Most of them are feature writers, and they dip into the sport every now and then.
Mm.
You know, they're not boxing experts. They write about all sports. You know, some of them are very, very good writers, but they have an opinion. That don't mean because they're good writers that their opinion's correct. And if you're a good writer, any criticism you should have of Tyson Fury, you should start it off by saying he's bipolar, which is a horrible condition. You know, real bad. It's a mental illness, and people should understand that and accept that. It's not visible in as much that you've got a broken arm or a broken leg, but it is and anybody's interested in this, you might think I'm boring your ass off here, but anybody's interested, go to the NHS website and look at the symptoms. And I will go to bat for him. And somebody came on to me afterwards, after the TV, after that thing, and with talkSPORT, and said to me, you know, you go to bat for your man. Of course I go to bat for me man. But if he was wrong, I wouldn't go to bat for him. You know, I would just stand back and not happen. But he should be praised for how he deals with that condition and fights. I mean, all I want people to do is know that, you know, that's the type of man he is. He's a warrior. He doesn't leave anything behind in a fight. Nothing behind. He's not ducked anybody. He never ducked Usyk, contrary to all the nonsense that's gone out there. And that's a fact of life. And if anybody cares to go and look at the interview I did with Alex Krasak when we did the round table thing for the Daniel Dubois fight, I asked him about it. I'd said it to him. You know that's not true. And he never came back. And Alex does a great job for his man. He's a really good promoter, and he just does a job as his manager. They go and bat for their man. That's what we do in the business. It was a fabulous fight, fabulous night of boxing. It was just great. And then you get, as I say, the people saying that, as I mentioned earlier, you know, that he's not a great fighter. Lennox Lewis got beaten by Rackman and got beat by Oliver McCall, and he reversed those decisions in the end. He also had two fights with Vander Holyfield, who was a former cruiserweight, and there was a fag paper in those decisions, in my opinion. But Lennox Lewis is a great fighter. There's no doubt about that. He's there. You mentioned him in the same names of these guys. So Tyson's going to have another fight, and we'll see where we go. You know, Muhammad Ali got beat by a fella, I think, had 8 or 9 fights when he turned pro, Olympian in Leon Spinks. Like, you know, all of them got defeats on their record.
Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas.
Tyson lost to a great fighter. They were 2 undefeated fights, and I believe it's the first time 2 undefeated heavyweights in a unification match since 1970 odd, early 70s. So, you know, all I'm asking, show the man give the man some credit for what he is, what he does, and what he's fighting in the background. And he should be praised for it, and certainly praised for what he's done for bringing it to attention of the world, mental health, that if this thing can happen to me, I mean, he didn't have to come out and tell anybody about it, but if this could happen to me, this condition, if I can be, you know, suicidal and everything and come back, you can do it too, because I'm the world champion. and I did it. I came back and did it, and trying to inspire people. So give him some credit for a change.
Well, I think the point that you're trying to hit home on the fight specifically is that, Oleksandr Usyk, one of the best cruiserweights ever, now cemented himself as one of the best heavyweights ever. And if Tyson's had a razor close fight with him, it doesn't make him rubbish all of a sudden. That's what you're trying to
No,
hit.
and of course you're going to get people who's subject to how you score fights. People look at fights and score them. Some people may think Usyk won by a couple more rounds or whatever. I hear all that. I can only say how I scored it. He gave me the first round. I thought Tyson was really doing well. Sixth round, come up to the sixth round, and the judge, one of the judges, had it going even going into that seventh round, which I don't think even haters would even go with that one. But that is what it is. Usyk is a great, great, great champion, and I can't emphasize that enough. And Tyson has been a great, great champion, and he's a fighting man. And his first thought is to come back straight away and have the rematch. So we will see what will happen in that rematch, as we saw in the past with Holyfield and Lennox and various other heavyweight fights over the years, great fights over the years.
Frank, I know on the night immediately when you spoke to me, you said that the eighth round was pivotal because Tyson busted his nose in that, and then that's where Usyk really took over from. Just playing devil's advocate to that, I agree with you. Tyson, apart from the first round, controlled the early to mid rounds. He was dominating. But Usyk, if you look at his previous fights with Derek Chisora, even with Tony Bellew, even with Daniel Dubois, he does give away the early rounds. He sort of absorbs your energy, and then late on, he always comes on strong. He always does it. Do we have to give Oleksandr Usyk some credit rather than just say Tyson busted his
Of
nose?
course I do. I'm not saying I couldn't give him more enough credit. I've said all the way through the interview. At the end of that round when he went back, Tyson caught him he caught him a couple of times in the fight with really good uppercuts, and he wobbled him. I was sitting there. You see his legs stiffen up, and going back. A lot of people, good judges, I took the Teddy Atlas as well and a couple of other people there, they felt that he was about to stop him, Tyson. But he came out like a rocket in that round, and he caught Tyson with a really good shot on the nose, and Tyson kept touching his nose, and he just seemed to lose his composure a little bit and lost the momentum. And he was definitely struggling with it. And I thought at the time, has he broken his nose? Is it because he's biting on his gum shield? And also you've got the situation where if that's happening, you've got the blood going down the back of your throat, so it makes it difficult to breathe and so forth. But that was it. And he done well to find that second win, because he definitely found a second win, because going back to the corner, he weren't in a good place. And obviously the ninth round was a dramatic round, and he well won that round. He caught Tyson, and I've never seen Tyson like that in a fight. I've seen him get caught and go over, but he really did apply the pressure.
Should it have
But
been
then you've got
stopped?
to take. No, the referee was there to referee, and the referee, we all picked the referee between all of us. We're all happy with Mark Nelson. He's an experienced referee. I watched that back again. I don't think it should have been stopped. The bell rang. And that was it. And he went back to the corner, and he came out, and I thought then from round 10 to 11 he lost. Round 10 to 11 he lost, 10-8 round, and then plus a 10-8 round. And I thought Tyson won the last round, as did all the judges on their cards. They gave Tyson the last round. So he wasn't wobbling. He couldn't finish the job, and that's not a criticism. But Tyson had the nous and the wherewithal to keep himself relatively out of trouble whilst he was recovering from the knockdown, because he has got great recuperative powers, and it showed, and that showed in the fight. And he was very brave in the fight. As I say, he won the last round, and it was what it was. It was just an absolutely brilliant performance from two brilliant boxers, two of the best boxers I've seen, two of the best heavyweights I've seen in my time in boxing, no doubt about that.
Frank, I'm sure you'd have seen Sky Sports put a clip out of Tyson's corner. I can't remember what round it was, but you had obviously Sugar Hill leading the corner, but you did also have John Fury and Andy Lee giving instructions while Sugar was. And just looking at that particular round, on that video, it did seem very confusing what was going on in that corner. What do
I,
you think of
I,
it?
I haven't seen Sky Sports coverage, so I will look at that today. And I've only got back yesterday, and I'm not really speak-wise, didn't get back till late, so we're not, I'm catching up on that. But he was told going out that he was in front, and at that stage, I remember jumping up at the end of the 10th and shouting out to the corner, "You need to win the next 2 rounds." That's how I felt, and I thought if he'd won the last 2 rounds, and that would probably been the case. If he'd have won the last 2 rounds, he'd have won the fight on the judges' scorecards. He won one of the last 2 rounds, so and it was a very, very close fight. Tyson felt also that he's won, and we spoke yesterday. He hadn't watched the fight back, so he'll watch it back. I'm going to have a proper look at it tonight and see where we go from there. But everybody's got an opinion. And a lot of people got biased opinions, as you include me in that probably. But I try to be fair and look at how it comes out. But it was a close fight, one round either way or a draw. It's not a problem. It's not a problem for me. That's how close it was. And people who are respecting the sport, most of them, that's how they see it. That's how they see it. The people who respect it, and as I say, the agenda that's gone on with certainly with Umar was just awful. And a couple of those other feature writers come up there, it's like they're looking for him to get beat. Now we can stick the knife into him. And there was a couple of unfortunate things an unfortunate thing happened in the week with a headbutting that sort of dominated the headlines and that. Of course, we don't want that. No one wants that to happen. But it happened, and the guys got together and apologised and so forth, and that was it.
Frank, with the rematch now, we've seen Tyson, as I said, really dominate in those middle rounds, and he was landing some big shots, some great body work, some brilliant uppercuts. And you're right, there was times where Usyk's legs stiffened, but he never seemed too hurt in there. He didn't seem like he was damaged goods in there. With this rematch now, can you see Tyson stopping him at all, Usyk?
Well, I've got to tell you, when he looks back, and I'm sure when I look back at it, he could have done with throwing the jab more, because when he puts him on the back foot, he negates a lot of what Usyk does. And the uppercut, that was always the shot in that fight. You see it time and time again. I know I lost my voice shouting out throw, and I'm sure if he threw more uppercuts, he would do it. I don't quite agree that with what you're saying about that it didn't have any effect. It did have an effect on him. It did stiffen up. It wobbled him. And if you go and see him at the end, both of them in the dressing room, because I went to both dressing rooms, there was nothing left in that ring. They give everything. He's busted up, and it's when you think that Tyson, a lot of people say his eyes going to open up, and in fact it was Usyk who cut in the fight, who got a cut. But they're gladiators. They're true gladiators.
Let me phrase it slightly differently then, Frank. What I'm saying is, obviously, Usyk got a second win and really took over in the latter part of the fight. That's after absorbing some really big shots from a huge guy in Tyson. What can he do differently to stop him, Frank?
I think he does what he does from rounds 1 to 7. Sorry, yeah, one. One.
Was a feel-out round. Yeah.
But the rounds that he dominated, he's got to work on that. And Tyson's not a fool. He knows what he's got to do. There's a few things that I'm sure they'll tweak and work out between them. And it's going to be interesting to see, for both of them, what they got left after that fight. That's the thing, because I'll tell you what, it took a lot out of Tyson. There's no doubt about that. And it took a lot out of Oleksandr. It took two. Both of them took a lot out of both of them.
Usyk, we do expect to be stripped by the IBF. We did expect that, though, Frank.
Well, that's what people are saying. Let's see what happens.
Okay. Just to close off as well, you guys announced at lunchtime a magnificent card, because it's the Magnificent Seven are back. We're heading.
Well, before we do that, and I don't want to do my usual try and jump in and control I want to give fantastic credit to Anthony Kakashi, who went in there as a big underdog. We always knew he was a good fighter. He could have been done with being more busy, but that was down to the fact that he had some issues and didn't fight on a couple of occasions. But what a performance from him. I mean, Britain, Northern Ireland got a great new champion, and he beat a very good fighter in Joe Cordina. He seemed to, he bossed that fight, and that was a magnificent performance. Mark Chamberlain done extremely well. I mean, he was in with a tough guy, and I definitely thought that Warbar would give him Warhan would give him a few problems to think about. I felt he'd come through it, but give him a few problems. He's 23-1, and he'd done I mean, those knockouts. If he caught anybody with them, it would have been a bit of a, it would have taken them out. That was a fabulous performance. Mosey's done brilliantly well. He was even a very experienced guy from Germany who had 28 fights and won 25 of them. And he's so powerful. He just, as soon as he catches them, he takes the fight them. So all of our guys did extremely, extremely well. And we had a good win in America as well with Baron. I could pronounce his name. Can you pronounce it for me?
Ivan Berencic, yeah. Alex Krasik,
That's
who looks after him as well, had some night, to be fair.
Yeah, of course he will. I mean, both of us, we're we're not all, as much as everybody, they asked us to promote him.
Yeah.
So, that tells you that that's a good thing. What a great fight him and Mark would be.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Just quickly then, July 20th, you're back in Birmingham. You got a press conference tomorrow to go through it, so we'll go in more detail. But yeah, the Magnificent Seven are back, Frank.
It's a cracking fight card. I mean, an absolutely cracking fight card. And we're going to see some really good fights. Got really good return on there with Nathan and Paul. That's going to be a fantastic fight. I'm really looking forward to that. And then Nathan, it's just a great case. It's some great fights, and obviously we go into it in more detail tomorrow. Fabulous card.
Absolutely.
And we'll be announcing Joe Joyce's next fight as well, which should be a decent fight.
Yeah, I've heard, but we'll keep that one for tomorrow. Just lastly, obviously disappointed with Tyson, the result, and to add to that disappointment, Frank, you guys missed out on the title. Just quickly get a reaction to that.
Of course, we're disappointed, but you know what? We were all part of boxing history.
No, Frank, I'm talking about. I said you guys. I'm talking about Arsenal missing out on the title.
Arsenal, fucking hell, that's our own fault. That we fell over. Look, somebody said to me at the beginning of the season, you're going to have, I'm not sure if we were joint or the best. We'd scored more goals than anybody, or up there, or second, not second, sorry, joint, and we had the best defence in the league. I would have taken that all day long. It's just we fell over on three matches come to mind, which is the West Ham game last Boxing Day, the Wolves game, and the Aston Villa game. We just fell over on him, and so we lost a little bit of momentum, but then came back into it and gritted our teeth and came through. I think with a couple of signings next season, we're going to be a handful for anybody, a big handful.
I thought this was the year, though.
Well, it's better than last year, and we done better than your mob.
He did. I gave up on our season about 4 or 5 months ago.
There you go.
Frank, appreciate your time. I'll see you tomorrow at this. You got a few big announcements tomorrow, so we'll speak then.
I look forward to that, and you look after yourself. And again, it's. I just hope and appreciate everybody. Everybody knows where we're coming from when we're saying that this was such a great fight between two really great fighters, and the winner's got it, and there's no complaints about that. No one's complaining about it. Close fight, but what a historic moment for the sport, and what a brilliant fight. The fight of the century.
Yeah, credit
heavyweight fight of the century. Yeah.
Credit to both men and everyone involved. You guys, K2, and of course Riyadh Season and HG for putting on a great moment for boxing. Has brought boxing back to the old days.
Well, it's gone from strength to strength, hasn't it? And we got another. We're out there again in 2 weeks, or in less than 2 weeks' time. Was it about 10 days' time? 5v5. So that's going to be interesting as well. Good, really good quality cards. And I'm sorry, Simon, that you don't like the fact I'm speaking to Eddie, or after him and I had our differences over the years. But you know what? It's been for the benefit of the fans that we are talking, and we are getting on well at the moment, and we're making these brilliant fights that we've always been trying to make, but we're making them happen now.
Absolutely. Well,
And
you're 1-0 up with Kakachi over Cordina, so let's see how you go next week.
fingers crossed. I've got everything crossed. I'll be sitting there looking like Ben Turpin.
Thank you, Frank. Take care.
Even bigger. All right.